How many of you have been in an environment where you learned something that really moved you and you're inspired and you thought, this is it. This is what I need for my life. And you're excited, and then you went home and you didn't apply any of what you learned. I've done it too. And so I kind of became obsessed early in my life with, first I was get pissed off at myself. I'd be frustrated with myself because I'd read or I'd attend something or I'd learn something, and then I wasn't applying it at the level that I thought I should. And beating yourself never changes it, because all it does is put you in a state. In any state, you don't perform at your best, so you don't apply things. And so I really dug in, and what I began to realize is it was just conditioning. That all of us are really conditioned by our environment to kind of fit in. We're conditioned to listen, to hear. We all have trained. We've been conditioned and trained to learn in a passive state, which does not make you use what you learn. And it comes from going to a 20th century school, which virtually everybody in this room did. What happens in a 20th century school? What'd you learn? The bell rings, and what are you supposed to do? Tell me quick. You're supposed to report to your desk, your position. And why do they want you to do that as soon as the bell rings? And by the way, when it rings and you go to your position, what are you supposed to do? Initiate, make things happen, start a conversation? Now, what are you supposed to do when you got to your desk? What?
Sit down.
Sit down and what? Shut up. Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't do anything until you're told what to do. Now, when I was in school, I was a talker. I bet you're surprised to hear that, aren't you? And I remember in my 5th grade class, I had this man named Mr. Giles. I'll never forget Mr. Giles because he hated children. Somehow this was to enhance his teaching technique. He hated children. He hated the sound of children. And so he would have these 3-hour periods where you could not talk in class. And I could go about 90 minutes, right? And then something would slip out. And I have to write these 10,000 word essays, why I will never talk again in class. I did 6 of them over the course of my 5th grade year. Then I got to my high school reunion 10 years later. I become a fairly successful human being, and several of my teachers were there, including Mr. Giles. And I went up to him and said, this talking thing worked out pretty good for me. But my larger point is this. If you sit and learn in a passive state, as you have today, it feels really comfortable. It feels really beautiful. And you take it in, you feel all the emotion. But the problem is there's no sense of action tied to it. So if you're sitting here right now, and let's say we're talking, you're like, this makes sense, or yeah, I want to apply this, or this, I think this would make a difference in my relationship, or he has big teeth, whatever you're thinking right now while you're watching me. But if you're sitting here and you're in a great state, but you're learning like this, you might go, that's really important, I'm going to do that. I really am. And later on your brain will go, I need to do that, I really do. And there's not enough to push you over the edge. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say, I.
I.
Then if we yell back the answers, the other value is research shows if you sit and listen passively, in 30 days you'll remember 10% of what I said, which means I wasted your time, I wasted mine. I don't want to waste your time or mine, and you don't want to waste yours. I came here with a heart saying, I don't come here to give a talk. I come here to make sure you have the chance, if you want to change your life today without any exaggeration, hyperbole in that statement. Because the only thing that changes our life is not more information. Knowledge is not power. It's potential power. What's more important than knowledge? What's more important than information?
Action.
That's right. Execution trumps knowledge every day of the week. And lots of us, how many of you in this room already know lots of things you should be doing that would make your life better, but you're not doing it? Raise your hand and say, I. So part of that is we've been trained to be passive, and I'd like to see if we could train ourselves to be a bit more active. So the way to do this, to give you an example, might be to say, let's use our bodies in the most active way, not just yelling back and forth, but we also want energy. Because if you really think about it, what gets you to build something, create something, make something happen is energy. If the energy's not there, you're going to have the best intent, you're going to have a beautiful heart, but you're going to fall through. If you aren't getting the level of result you want so far, and you're as committed as you are, you're in this room today, you're a seeker. There's a step beyond seeker. It's a liver. It's when you live this stuff. And you can't just, I should say you can't, you can do whatever you want. But for me, a seeker is step 1. Then you got to start holding yourself to higher standards, say, how am I applying it? Not beating yourself up, just going, okay, if I'm not, then pick one thing and I'm going to do that this week. Just one thing.